Yeah. I'm Stokes Grymes. I grew up in Richmond, went to St. Christopher's School, lived in Bonnycastle dorm my first year. My degree was from the college, and for 30 years I was a financial advisor. And now, for the last 5 years, I'm retired, and that's a lot of fun.
What was your major?
My major ended up being political science. I think they called it government back then. Yeah. So actually I prepared. You asked me to be prepared, so I prepared some. I came to UVA, I had one expectation. My expectation was I would play on the tennis team. Turns out that didn't happen. So I got to UVA, and back then you had to play on the freshman team. If you were a freshman, you could not play varsity sports. And the coach at the time was also the soccer coach. He was busy in the fall. He didn't have time to pick a freshman team. He got one of his players to pick a freshman team. I didn't get picked. And a number of my other friends didn't get picked for the freshman team as well. So we started our own club team, which was a lot of fun. We'd go around and play high schools and country clubs in the area. And it caused a little bit of a problem because like we'd play Woodbury Forest, and Woodbury Forest would report us in the Charlottesville paper as being the UVA freshman team, which I never said we were, but they said we were. The coach apparently didn't like that. I also had a friend named Bitsy Harrison. Bitsy was in law school. Bitsy had played professional tennis. He was, I think, 24th in the country at one point. I got Bitsy to come out and give us some pointers a couple of times on how we could improve our game. The tennis coach had been trying to get Bitsy to come out and hit with his guys, and he wasn't willing. Bitsy wasn't willing to do it. He didn't want to spend that much time doing it. So I think I irritated the coach again on that. But he finally took note of me when I won the intramural tournament, and I beat Dick Carrington in the finals, and Dick was on the tennis team, and I wasn't. So the coach came to me and said, "Hey, how'd you like to play on the tennis team?" And I said, "Coach, I wanted to play on the tennis team, but I wasn't chosen. So now I've got my own team. I can't play for your team. I got my own team." 50 years later, I'm sort of sorry I didn't play varsity sport on the tennis team. They've won some national championships since then. But I think I'd make the same choice again. I think I was too loyal to my guys. I was loyal to my guys, and I wasn't going to let them go. Our first year at UVA, we had Saturday classes. Every Saturday morning I had a Spanish class, we had a quiz. If you didn't get there, you got a 0. That was really painful. Also had a math class. This is elementary, freshman math. And one day I was wandering along the lawn, and I ran into my professor, my teacher, who was a teaching assistant graduate student. And we started a discussion. It turned out he realized that I had gone to St. Christopher's, and my math teacher at St. Christopher's was Stuart Flanagan, who I think left St. Christopher's. Pierce, help me with this. Did he become head of the math department at UVA?
Was it Richmond? Was it UVA?
It was at UVA. So anyway, my assistant was probably also taking classes from Flanagan. So when he realized that I had taken classes from Flanagan, he knew that I knew all the stuff he was teaching. He said, "Here's the deal. Just come take the final exam. That's all I ask of you." That was a great relief. So I remember there were a number of classes where if you did better on the final exam than on the midterms, then you could just take your final exam as your final grade. And, well, I'll back up. We had some wonderful professors at UVA. Norman Graebner in history, Dean Bice in psychology, Ken Elzinger in economics. He made economics seem really easy. So I decided that I would major in economics. not all of our professors were that wonderful though. So I remember taking, I think it was a macroeconomics class. And the professor, the first day of class, is drawing all these graphs. And he goes through 40 minutes of his lecture. And he says, oh my God, it's all wrong. Takes the sleeve of his jacket, somewhat erases what he put up there, and puts the graphs the other way. Gives a 50-minute lecture in 20 minutes. We're all 10 minutes late for our next class. It was a disaster. So I went back the next class, and the same thing happened. It was really awful. But I had to take this class. I was majoring in economics at the time. But the deal was, he explained to us, he said, there are 2 midterms and a final. He said, if you do better on the final than on the midterms, then you can get the final grade. So I went in and took the first midterm. It looked like gibberish. I got a 34 because I hadn't been to but the first 2 classes. So after that, I went and took the second midterm because you had to take it, had to get some sort of grade. So 34 on the first midterm, 17 on the second. I went in for the final exam, expecting just to sign my name so I could get an F and not an incomplete. And I opened up the exam, and it was problems to solve. And I remember it was Washington Redskins. They had a problem because they had a long backload of subscribers or people who wanted to come to the games. More people could come. So the question was, what are the social and economic implications of changes that could happen with the Redskins? And I said, I can write about that. They can enlarge the stadium, they can raise the prices. I wrote about that for an hour or so. Turned in my exam. Got a B+ for the course. How wonderful was that? So a couple of days later, I ran into...
What was your draft number?
I'll tell you that.
It's probably more lucky.
It was. So maybe you remember Bill Fulp in our class. So I ran into Bill a couple of days later. He said, what'd you do on that macro exam? How'd you do on that macro exam? I was vague in my answer. And he started complaining about his grade. He said he'd gone to the professor and complained about his grade. And the professor said, look, opened up his book, and he said, here's my problem. Here's some guy who got a 34 on the first midterm, 17 on the second, one of the highest grades in the class on the final exam. I said, how do I grade that? So, Bill, I'm sorry.
Did you remain vague?
Yes, I never told him until just now.
He may see it.
Yeah. Other remembrances. I remember UVA basketball.
You all can sit over there, so he doesn't look off.
Okay. Good. How about that?
Yeah.
Much better. UVA basketball was not as popular back then as it is now. Nobody went to the games. You could go in at halftime, sit anywhere you wanted to. Once or twice a year, there would be a televised game at U-Hall, and that was Scout Day. Anybody with a Scout uniform got in for free. But you had to sit directly across from the floor camera to make it look like people were there. And then Barry Parkhill showed up. That changed UVA basketball altogether.
That's just my way of marking on the audio where there's a good short story that we might use with the...
Okay, where you can cut it all out.
Yeah. No, we'll put the whole thing up there, but we need some
Yeah.
tidbits.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about dating. I killed 5 or 6 grandmothers every year. It was incredible. Dates would show up on the bus from Sweetbriar, Mary Baldwin, Hollins. Friday night, we'd go out. Saturday morning, the grandmother would have died, and they had to get back. I felt personally responsible because this is just not coincidence that it happened so many times.
That's perfect.
We went through an incredible 4 years at UVA. We showed up the first year, everybody wore coats and ties. We all pretty much looked like each other. There were no women on campus. Our last year was my brother's first year, and he had a totally different experience at UVA. He was living in a co-ed dorm. Nobody wore coats and ties to class. The professors didn't even wear coats and ties to class. We woke up when we were at UVA. We'd had the protests of 1970 or so. We were different, and UVA was different by the time we got out of there. 50 years later, I've gotten a degree upgrade. Thank you very much, all you students and graduates who've come after me, because I'm proud to say I'm a UVA graduate. I was proud to say it 50 years ago, and I'm even more proud now. Thank you very much. I don't know that I got anything else.
You want to talk
Oh,
about
did I forget to start the camera?
This girl home.
Oh, did he marry the cheerleader?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
What was her name?
I'm not sure I want to say right now.
Pierce, can you sit over here next to Stan?
That's it. I'm
On the
talking too
stool.
much. I'll shut up.
Yeah,
So,
because he keeps looking off camera.
right, so did you remember the controversy about having women come to the university?
About what?
The controversy about women coming to the university at undergraduate?
Not that much.
Not that one.
No. Is it still running, Lewis?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on camera.
Facebooks?
I remember one date I had, and I went to Sweetbriar, middle of the week, nothing sort of date. She didn't think I was great, I didn't think she was great. But for the next 4 years, because this was in the spring, the fall of our first year, early in our time at UVA, and I would run into her over and over again at football games, big party weekends and whatnot. And she would come up to me and say, "Hey, Tommy, how are you doing?" Well, I'm not Tommy, but I think I figured it out. After our date, which was not so great, she went back up into her dorm and said that she had had a date with some guy named Stokes, who was a Phi Cap at UVA. And the other girl said, "You had a date with Tommy Stokes, who's a law student, drives a Robin's Egg blue Porsche, and has a trust fund." What do you mean you had no fun? And Tommy Stokes and I are not related, but we're both named after his grandfather. So there is the confusion. So it has always worked in my favor to be mistaken for
It's a
somebody.
shame she missed the Lamborghini. Right.
No, Porsche.
No, your Lamborghini.
Yeah, right.
Ford Falcon.
Yeah.
That was Cincinnati.
Did he have a Ford Falcon Cincinnati? Beautiful.
He did, and he took it out to Wyoming with it, and he got nicer cars, but he used that to campaign in.
Yeah, I guess you gotta be looking good when you're driving into town.
Right.
All right, that's all my notes.
You done good.
You did great.
I think I'll leave it to last names.
Yeah.
Maybe
There's
last
no
names.
reason to give. I mean, because there's stories I'm going to tell that